Greetings. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, and this is a day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. In preparation for Mother's Day, I would like to share the story of Ruth with all of you. Over the next few days, I will read the Book of Ruth. Don't worry, it's actually a pretty short book, and share some thoughts on how Ruth and Naomi show us how traditional and non-traditional relationships can lead to extraordinary blessings. So I'd invite you to settle in for the first chapter of Ruth. If you'd like to read on your own and skip ahead to the reflection, you can follow the timestamp down below and go right into the reflection. But right now, I'd invite you to hear these words from the first chapter of Ruth. In the days when the judges judged, there was a famine in the land. A certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to live in the country of Moab with his wife and his 2 sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife, Naomi. The names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah. They came into the country of Moab and lived there. Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They took for themselves wives of the women of Moab. The name of one was Orpah, and the other was Ruth. They lived there about 10 years. Mahlon and Chilion both died, and the woman was bereaved of her 2 children and of her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab how Yahweh had visited his people in giving them bread. She went out of the place where she was, and her 2 daughter-in-laws with her. They went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go, return each of you to your mother's house. May Yahweh deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. May Yahweh grant each of you to find rest, each of you in the house of her husband." Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. They said to her, "No, but we will return with you to your people." Naomi said, "Go back, my daughters. Why do you want to go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Go back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should even have a husband tonight and should also bear sons, would you then wait until they were grown? Would you then refrain from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me seriously for your sakes, for Yahweh's hand has gone against me." They lifted up their voices and wept again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth stayed with her. She said, "Behold, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her God. Follow your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Don't urge me to leave you and to return from following you. For where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May Yahweh do so to me, and more also, if anything but death parts you and me." When Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So they both went until they came to Bethlehem. When they had come to Bethlehem, all the city was excited about them, and they asked, "Is this Naomi?" She said, "Don't call me Naomi. Call me Mara. For the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. I went out full, and Yahweh has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since Yahweh has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me?" So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, with her, who returned out of the country of Moab. They came to Bethlehem in the beginning of the barley harvest. The first word that strikes me in this chapter is relationship. It is through relationship that this story takes on meaning. First, Naomi's relationship with her husband. Second, Naomi's relationship with her sons. Third, Naomi's relationship with her daughters-in-law. Relationships form the very soil in which our story is planted. Naomi loses her husband and her 2 sons, In her days of grief, she prepares to return to her homeland and bids that her daughters-in-law leave so that they can forge new relationships in their homelands. It is then that something interesting happens. Ruth continues to follow Naomi, even after Naomi urges her to go away. There's a lot of cultural context to Naomi's actions. She tells Ruth to do as their culture dictates. Go find a new husband to marry, have children. That's the cultural expectation. Ruth, however, does as her relationship dictates. She follows Naomi and offers a promise that is absolutely beautiful. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. That's not something that culture dictates. There is no expectation for Ruth to leave her people and go with Naomi. It is the relationship that invites these actions, and the relationship that leads to blessings that overflow. Being in relationship doesn't mean that we are going to be without sorrow. In fact, relationship invites sorrow, even welcomes it. Naomi, by the end of our first chapter, is in sorrow. She is in the depths of her loss, and there seems to be very little light in her story. Yet through a relationship with her daughter-in-law, a relationship that culturally speaking shouldn't even exist at this point, she will find comfort in her loss, companionship in her grief, and a future where God is still at work even while her heart is breaking. Today, I would offer an invitation to focus on relationship, whether that is nurturing our existing relationships or repairing relationships that have been broken. And let's not focus on blaming someone else for our broken relationships, or if it is building relationships where none existed. The very nature of our God is relational. The very nature of our existence is relational. And we find over and over again in Scripture that God blesses the world through loving relationships, even when those relationships might push up against the boundaries of our traditions. Be well in body, be well in soul, until we meet again. And join me here again tomorrow for the second chapter of Ruth.